This is the Relevant Podcast.
It's episode 1157, and it's the Relevant Podcast here in Orlando. I'm your host, Cameron Strang, and joining me from Loverland, Virginia, it's Jesse Carey.
Hello, hello.
From Nashville, it's artist, producer, mogul, Derek Miner.
What up, though?
And in LA, you know from Social Club Misfits, it's Marty.
Howdy.
Emily is not going to join us today because she is at a lake house with her girlfriends. So
that sounds.
She lives a really great life.
I was going to say it sounds like the setup for like a Gen Z horror movie.
Yeah.
Like just a weekend away at the lake house with the girlfriends.
And then the power goes out, and there's a storm.
Power's the first thing to go.
yeah. What was that? Yeah.
Somebody's making out in the back room,
What was that?
and then you hear a scream, and it's like one of them's dead or something.
Why do they always have to kill the promiscuous person first? Why do they
Every time.
The wages of sin.
Black
The
person
wages of
gets
sin
killed
is death.
first.
But the guy
promiscuous
who's
person
killing
second.
them, the person who's killing them is a murderer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but why? Why is he doing that?
He's got to clean the world of all the dirty people. That's his. He's like, what is it, Decker?
like a religious.
He's like Decker, like a good, like
Yeah.
he's a serial murderer for a good reason.
No, it's just
No, is
because they're distracted. They're not paying attention.
Dexter,
And
that was
he goes for the, but it is an unassailable premise. Like there's something, I don't camp. Like I'm just anti-camping. Like I don't see there's no reason. Like humanity
to
has
enjoy
evolved.
nature.
There's other ways to enjoy nature. Humanity has evolved past camping. Like we're just better than sleeping
I
outside.
think homeless people are like, what are you guys doing? The heck?
But
Just
either
gonna
way,
camp. Like in LA, there's always tents and stuff.
either way, I'm not someone who like experiences like. Sure, I have like my fears and anxiety, but not like I never feel like in danger. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I don't have that like child like, oh my gosh, I'm wake up in the middle of the night afraid of something or afraid of the dark, or I don't experience that. I don't go into the woods at night. That is horrifying to me. Like I grew up with woods behind my house.
Me too.
And during the day, you go play back there all
no problem.
afternoon long.
Right.
As soon as it's dark, taking 3 steps into the tree line sounded just like
the blackness
unbelievably terrifying.
of the woods out the back windows of the house.
Yeah,
it was just,
yeah.
it's like, I said this story. I won't go into the whole thing, but we were in a prank war. I was in high school, TPing each other's houses, that kind of thing. So we got word that a bunch of friends were going to like hit our house one night. So I got a bunch of friends and we were going to ambush them when they came in the middle of the night for our front
That's
yard.
amazing.
And so we were like staked out all over the neighborhood. We had walkie-talkies. We were scouting. They never came. It was like 1 a.m. We gave up. So we were just all in the family room, just watching a movie with all the lights out. And again, my house backed up to 80 acres of woods. It was a conservation area and right in the middle of the suburbs. And so all of a sudden we see a flashlight in the backyard and we thought,
Oh, God.
oh, they're coming. They're going to TP the backyard. Oh, it's on now.
Yeah.
So we all like ran out the garage door, the front door, and we were like circling the house. We were going to like trap them and ambush them. Turned out it was a guy staking the house to break in. Like it was like a serial robber who had been going around the neighborhood.
Listen,
And we caught him.
Like, what?
We caught him. He got ambushed by 30 teenage boys with flashlights and paintball guns, and he ran into the
Oh,
woods.
did you guys hit him?
No, he just darted into the woods. And the
I
next
would have shot him
Cameron,
hard.
you told this story, but you didn't tell me that y'all actually confronted the guy.
Oh, dude, he saw us coming out and we started yelling and flashlights and stuff. He took off in the woods.
He probably was
The next
freaked.
morning,
Yeah.
there's
Well,
police
that's
choppers. There's like
terrifying.
cops talking to us like, y'all are idiots. He could have been armed. What are you doing? We're like, we thought it was our friend.
well, look,
So, anyway.
Yeah.
here's the thing about the woods. Here's the
That's
But
thing.
that
a really
flashlight
awesome
and the
story.
blackness, dude, was the most terrifying
Yep.
thing I ever saw.
Here's the deal. If there's a light in the woods at nighttime, it's 100% chance it's one of 3 things. One is some hillbilly psycho that just like lives out there and is like a
Right.
stalker. 2 is someone planning some sort of home invasion.
Right.
3 is obviously a Bigfoot like
So
creature.
Bigfoot has a
Moral of the
flashlight?
story, it's his eyes. It's his aura. It's the moral of the story. You just don't go back there at
Right.
night. I think we're all that's well established. Now, I want to pivot real quick because I'm assuming we're never going to hear from Emily again. Are we all on the same page about
that? Assuming she's gone.
I hope that's not true. Desperately hope that's not true.
Me too. But it's a lake house at night. Not in Texas. Good scenario.
Yeah, it's not good.
And, you didn't say Texas.
Yeah, she flew to Texas to go to the lake house.
It's nice knowing you.
Yeah. Totally different note. Did you guys watch the Curb finale?
I did. I was a little sad. It kind of made me sad. When things are ending, I'm like, it's sad.
Derek, I've never seen one episode. Sorry.
Oh my God. Derek.
Well, you have 24 years. You have 24 years of content to catch up on. As I was watching it, Cameron, you watched it, I assume.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It was sad.
Marty. Yeah, Marty, to your point, it was sad because I feel like there's with streaming these days, there are very few legacy shows that you can kind of return to that are reliably good. Every time I turn on something on streaming, you're kind of walking up to the roulette table a little bit. I'm going to give this about an hour of my time, but I don't know if this is a wasted hour or if I'm going to be investing more. With Curb going off, which has been on since I was in college, that seems insane to me. I watched Curb in college.
I was in high school.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Jesse, you weren't in college. It started in 2000. You were in high school.
Yeah. I guess I was. I started watching when I was in college. But either way,
wow,
it was one of those things where the only other institutions like that anymore. There's Always Sunny. There's The Simpsons, where there's some reliability to at least the tone of the show. If it's going to be worth
the characters too.
Yeah, you know if it's going to be worth your 20 or 30 minutes of investment. That's what I was more sad about. It was something that is recurring year after year that is of a certain degree of quality. Because like I said, so much there's such a fire hose of content in the streaming era that I feel like it is a bummer to see another one go where I don't have to wonder, should I sit down for a half hour and try something new?
The last couple seasons of Curb, I got to be honest,
phoned in a little bit.
They were old. Yeah. I mean, Larry is 76 years old. He's old. When they started, he was 50, 52, and he was in that early middle-aged kind of vibe. It's just weird now that he's going on dates with 45-year-old women in the show. It's just strange.
Yeah. Sienna Miller.
Yeah. It's just. And ever since I felt like when Bob Einstein passed away, the show, Bob Funkhauser, but I mean the actor Bob Einstein. I felt like the show was holding on to something that was over. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was trying to keep it going, but I love Curb. A bad Curb episode is still better than 90% of television.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like I get analysis paralysis most of the time I turn on TV. Where it's okay, great. What's on this service? What's on this one? Right. And then I'm pulling up my phone, reading reviews, trying to determine if it's worth my time. Derek, what's your filter for if you're going to turn something on TV that you actually want to watch?
You got 3 episodes out of me. Because there's a couple of shows that they haven't warmed up. I mean, even Breaking Bad. I feel like if you just watched the first episode of Breaking Bad, you wouldn't have made it through. You need 3. In my opinion,
the first episode was kind of tight. It was weren't they in their underwear, in the middle of the desert, and you heard the police coming by? That's how it started, right?
But it didn't capture the right tone. But then it got
boring after that. The first scene was dope, and then the character building.
The character building was.
They talk about it.
One of it was that he lives a boring life. So the first episodes were a little boring,
But they talked about, the show creator talked about why the first season is so different than what it became. Because when he first started the show, he thought he was doing a dark comedy. That's why he cast Malcolm in the Middle's dad as the lead. He thought he was doing this weird deadpan dark comedy. And then they realized
that's crazy.
They realized what they had and the actors that they had, and they evolved the show to become what it is.
They did that.
Yeah. But I mean,
you just blew my mind. I had no clue that's what was happening.
Now you love the show, Derek.
They literally,
that makes it even crazier to me.
Yeah,
they literally intended to kill off Jesse Pinkman within the first couple of episodes.
Right.
Yeah, his was a short, but they realized, there's real chemistry.
They got 4 episodes in and realized they had a different show than they thought, and then they leaned into that, and it became one of the best of all time. But the first season of Seinfeld, they didn't know what they had or what they were doing. The first season of Parks and Rec wasn't as good as what it became. I feel like it's kind of standard for some of the shows that became the greatest shows of all time. They had to figure out what they had in time, you know.
But the streaming era, you don't really.
3.
But that's the thing.
Season 2, episode 1, and go from there. You know, that kind of thing.
But with streaming, like they don't get that room to like they have to figure it out right out of the gate, or else people don't care. To your point, the first season of Parks and Rec was Andy Dwyer trying to figure out how to not live in a hole. Like it was a pit. Like the whole season was
had whole characters like the boyfriend who just like vanished one day. Like, you know, they changed the show up halfway through. Yeah.
Yeah. But all I have to say is like watching the end of Curb, which I thought was great. I thought it was great, like homage to the Seinfeld finale and
failure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Even the whole thing of what it's because you can read ad nauseum people's reviews of it, but even like the parallel of the episode and sort of the series was like what it's like to go from someone who's very well liked to someone who all of a sudden is like sort of, you know, canceled to a degree, where Larry David experienced that with the Seinfeld finale, where everyone loved it. He could do no wrong. And then he released this finale that was universally loathed. And, you know, and that was sort of the plot of this final episode, which I thought was smart, but it was also, I thought they stuck the landing.
Yeah.
I gotta catch up on that. So Larry David wrote Seinfeld.
Yeah, he wrote Seinfeld and he made a show
seasons.
3 years later. Yeah,
he left after season 7 and then came back for the finale.
And season 7, if you've seen Seinfeld, definitely. I mean, Jason Alexander said this in an interview the other day. I watched his podcast, hilarious podcast. He was talking about, he goes, if we would have done another season, he goes, I don't know what the writers would have done because Larry's gone. He's like, I feel like they would have put us in space or something. You know, like it just kept one upping.
Seinfeld was my favorite show of all time. It hit Seinfeld and Letterman defined my humor, you know, like that was what shaped me. But when Larry left, Larry had the neurotic kind of like annoyances of regular life, you know, and like little awkward social situations. And that would be an entire episode. After he left, they became cartoonish characters with like big, crazy plot lines, and it was just like it became a different show. It was still good, but it was a different show.
Yeah, it was still good.
And so the
last
point
season was a little weird.
The point, they had to keep outdoing themselves. Yeah, that's right. But like if they did do another season,
the dealership, it was a good episode, but it's still like it's just not Seinfeld. It's just not right. You know, it's not Larry.
So what I'm gathering is Larry David's style is like take something mundane and make it hilarious.
Yeah, exactly.
Like there's an entire episode where Jerry picks up his car from the valet after dinner, and the valet had BO, and the BO stayed in the car, and he couldn't get rid of the valet BO smell for the entire episode. He eventually ended up just driving to the bad part of town and finding a homeless guy and dropping the keys on the ground in front of him and walking away because he couldn't get rid of this car. Away. But that's Larry David. He just had a smelly car one time and built an entire episode around
even
it.
To your point with the valet, there was a great episode that I thought felt like this season of Curb, Derek, to your point, where it's like finding humor in mundanity, where Larry David pulls up to a restaurant valet and he tosses the valet the keys, and the valet found that very offensive. Like, you should hand me the keys. Yeah. And Larry can't let it go. The entire episode,
he's going, you're my buddy. We're chummy. I know you. I'm tossing you my keys. It's playful. And the other valets were like, that's
he's always
dismissive.
Wanted to do it too. You know what I'm saying?
And so everyone he talks to that episode, he tries to interrogate whether a key toss is friendly or aggressive. But that's the entirety of the entire episode.
But the older seasons were great, Derek, too. The older seasons were a little bit more like more mundane. Like, for instance, one day he gets a therapist and therapist goes, go to the beach with your wife, go enjoy yourself. He goes to the beach. He sees his therapist at the beach. He's like, oh, there's my therapist. The therapist gets up. He's wearing a thong. He's like, I have to fire this therapist now. Like, it's a real thing. Like, all of us in this room, like, really the relevant podcast is like early episodes of Curb, because we're always like, how do you navigate these weird things where it's like, I can't look at this guy the same anymore.
He was in a Speedo.
You know what I'm saying?
Crazy.
Yeah, Speedo. Yeah.
That's crazy.
All right, well, maybe we can ask our guest about this. Coming up later, we talk to rapper, singer Aaron Cole. He has a new project coming out next week, and you will be the first to hear about it. Looking forward to that. Also, at the end of the show, we have 5-second rule, bringing it back. All right, stay tuned. Right now, up next, it's Slices. You're listening to Forrest Frank and Caleb Gordon. The song is God is Good. Well, today's show is brought to you in part by Crown College, a boldly Christian and academically excellent college providing a lifelong, authentic community. Crown offers on-campus, online, and graduate programs, 18 NCAA Division III sports, international service opportunities, and a vibrant student life. Discover why Crown College is ranked top 3 in America for online Christian education. Visit crown.edu today. Okay, it's time for
Slices.
What do you have, Jesse?
All right. I found a study recently that I felt like was interesting, and I have a take on it. I don't feel like anyone will find this data all that surprising that, people look, there's obvious economic reasons for this. I think there's also underlying social reasons. But 20% of millennials and 68% of Gen Zers still live with their parents. And most of them say that they will be doing that for at least another 2 years. They have no plans to move out for another 2. So this isn't sort of just arrested development. There's really no short-term plan. Now, I think there's obvious economic reasons. I also think coming out of COVID, even though like the quarantine era wasn't that long, like in the spectrum of, sort of social trends. But there were a lot of people that were like, oh, I'm just going to move back home for a while. If we're all going to be stuck in together, I might as well be with people. And that's the element that's more interesting to me because the economy ebbs and flows, right? Like we've seen different trends, but I actually, and the fact that too, most have no plans on moving out in the 2 years. They have no ambition to actually, try to make a change. Now, again, I don't want to dismiss economic realities of inflation and rent prices and things like that. But I also think if you look at other countries, right, like in like Israel, they build onto houses, right? Like instead of moving out,
it's not just Israel's entire Arab region. That's the thing.
Brazil.
The family has been here for 300 years. We add a room when a new generation gets added.
Italy,
In my father's house, there's many mansions. That's what that means.
Yeah,
is you build. There's room for whoever joins my father's house. So, yeah.
In Italy, like you have like just the family house. You know what I mean? Like generation after generation just sort of inherits the house. I don't live with my parents, but I know people who do, and I got no beef with it. I think actually I know the circumstances that got us here are people would probably see as a negative in terms of like I said, high interest rates and rent prices and a pandemic that kind of forced people to kind of, circle up together and kind of close off. I get that. I'm not dismissing that. I understand. But I think the outcome isn't that bad. I actually look, man, if when I get old and like my kids are like friends or adjacent family, if we all lived in like the same house, like I don't think that'd be that bad. I think it'd be kind of fun,
That's the dream.
Growing up,
that's the dream.
My family had a family friends that had we called it the compound. Mom and dad had an acreage, and they had built the main house. And then as the kids became adults, they just built houses on the family land. They weren't wealthy. They were pastors, but they just kind of they had a tight knit family community. And they weren't like in each other's yards. I mean, they had space, but like my dad always, as I was a kid, would joke that we were going to do the same thing. Like you're going to live on the family compound. They didn't want us to leave.
Righteous Gemstone style. I like that.
Yeah, I knew. I knew a compound family too, and it was tight. You know what I mean?
It was cool. They always hung out. They were like pool day. There was 20 people there.
Like, there was like a main house, and then there were like cabins, and it wasn't like bougie. You know what I mean? Like people think compound, and they do think Righteous Gemstones, where you each have your McMansion and like garage. But you can do a compound on the relative cheap. But it was cool. Like they're all raising their kids together. It's all this good. It's a good vibe. Everyone's hanging out, eating dinner every night. Like. If you don't have anything to do for dinner, you just knock on the door. It's
like living in a college dorm for the rest of your life.
With family and extended family, and there's always, here's the thing about compound families: they always have one unit in the compound that isn't related, that somebody just kind of brought in, and they're sort of like not the official family, but we kind of the adopted compound family, you know, and they're still coming to Christmas and stuff. And we call them aunt and uncle, but they're not really aunt and uncle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's okay in compound life.
Sometimes it's an aunt who's just unmarried. You know what I'm saying? Like, but also becomes like a nanny out of nowhere. Like it's one of those families.
There's some interesting dynamics that evolve, but that's okay because you live in the compound life. There's no judgment in compound life.
But I mean, there's a lot we can learn from Italy and the Middle East and like how to live in community and family being strong.
A lot of families in California, they do that. Like you'll have one family buy a house and then you'll have the family living in the house. Like I had a buddy of mine, he owned, his family came from Taiwan. They lived in his house and his family, after working for like 5-6 years, bought the house next to it.
Yep.
And then they bought the house and then his daughter bought the house. So they had 3 houses. I'm like, you guys are going to buy the whole neighborhood, but that's what they wanted. So they had 3 houses. And that's a common thing in California. There's a family actually down the street that
it's a very Asian thing. Like, because I'm thinking of Asian families
Indian
I know,
too, like,
wealthy.
like
they want to live
yeah.
right next to each other on the same block and stuff. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a black thing too. Like if you go back to some of those, like in the country, like my wife's family, they got a bunch of land and everybody has houses on the land.
I love it.
Like
There it is.
A lot of the aunts and the uncles. Now the younger generation, like our generation, they've kind of dispersed. But like they were all. My wife grew up next door to all her family, and being a transplant because my mom moved from Michigan down here to work at a factory. I miss that. I want my kids to experience that. Like just being able to go play all your cousins on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Just get together and just go play in the field. You know,
Yeah.
and they have deep relationships with one another. So that look, I feel like I love that America, we're all about independence and stuff like that, and everybody have your own. But I think it's dope I've been trying to get my mom to move in with me for the longest, like because I talk to her every day, you know. So,
I do it.
And I think that's my point is like, the roots of this social trend, I think a lot of people would see independently as negatives, you know, but I think the kind of outcome, I think it's kind of cool. Like, I'm not hating on anybody who lives with their parents or is
my
living.
My sisters are cool.
And they're even calling it, there's a different term. They call, in kind of socioeconomics, or social science circles, they call it multi-generational homes. It's not like living with your parents. I think it's
saves a ton of money. I mean, like
exactly.
The housing costs are insane right now.
Yeah.
I saw a thing where like in 2021, if you bought a house that was $750,000 at the interest rate at that time, your payment would be $2,200 a month. And today you would get a $400,000 house for the same payment, or $375,000 for the same payment. Yeah. And obviously housing prices went up. So you're going to be living in a way worse house. Anyway, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well,
things have changed.
Call up the parents.
There you go. Move in.
Look at some property out in the country and get that compound life going. You can get
life.
one of those barn dominium. Somehow I ended up on a barn dominium Instagram reel thing. I watched like one that somehow showed up. Because that's all. Yeah. All you got to do is give it 10 seconds, and all of a sudden, that's all you see.
That's your feed. Yeah.
And it's people who get like these like steel barns and just build out these huge family compounds. I'm not gonna lie. That just showed up in my feed like a week ago, and now I've become pretty attached to some of these families.
Man, I was attached to the high school. You ever saw the high school? They a whole family bought a high school, like a legit huge high school. They're all living in different parts of the high school, like the entire family. You can look it up on TikTok. It's wild, but it's weird because it has that aesthetic of like concrete walls.
Yeah,
like
that's weird.
Like a church you'd rent it on the Sunday, but the way that they built it out ended up becoming kind of tight. Like they kind of went all out.
Some of them barn dominiums, dog.
That's what I'm saying. You've got
Yellowstone on them.
They showed up in your feed too.
Yeah, I went to Puerto Rico with my wife for our anniversary last year, and this guy had took 2 shipping containers. He had took 2 of them and made an L with them, and I was like, "What is this?" Like, we walk up to it. I was ready to leave the worst Airbnb. This thing was laid out on the inside. I'm talking about the bathroom, walk-in bathroom. It had like the tile on the shower, and then it was crazy. I was like, okay,
That's what I'm saying.
Like, maybe I might need to just get rid of this whole thing I got and get me about 6 or 7 of them shipping containers.
That's what I'm saying. I'm watching them. I'm like, I didn't know this was legal. I don't even think it is. But you know what?
There's a coffee shop down the street that's out of a container now that you say it. Now that maybe just realize it. They made it into something like a study hall. It's great. They put 2 of them together. It's
up in Charlottesville, Virginia, there is like a whole like arts district, which is just a bunch of shipping containers that they made like alleyways, and they cut out doors, and it's like one's a coffee shop. One is like, a record store, and it's just shipping containers, They're
building one here in downtown today, or I just saw it today. They stacked 3 of them. It's an empty lot downtown, stacked 3 of them. They built a stage for performances, and then they have an art gallery and a coffee shop in it. And so like it's a public.
They stacked them on top of each other?
Yeah, it's 2 stacked and then 1 L-ing. And so like it's an elevated stage, and then on the bottom floor is an art gallery and a coffee shop, and it's an open lot for the city to just have art events and concerts and stuff like that or whatever, but it's shipping containers. It's cool.
It's a wild time to be in the building inspector business. Brave new world.
Buildings, inspector business. Yeah.
Every day is an adventure. Every day is an adventure. Yeah.
Going nuts. All right, guys. So I have something that I hate this word, but I feel like it's a great article. The article is taking a fart walk after dinner could be good for your health. I don't know if you guys have heard about this.
Can I stop you real quick, Marty?
Go for it. Yeah.
Because I think you'll probably observe from Slices and opening banter, it is an exceptionally slow news week where this
I was going through the stories. I'm like, I guess I'll do the word. I hate the word fart. I don't know why. The word just has, I guess in my family, we just don't like it. But there's this new trend going on where after you eat, you go for a fart walk.
It's not a new trend. The idea of walking after you eat dinner to help digestion is like
it's
tried and true.
It's becoming a little bit more popular. I call it a TJ Maxx walk, but that's just me. But,
this has been known in some circles as crop dusting for a long time.
Yeah, it's just rebranding, but for Gen Z. Yeah, I might go thank God for my dog for helping my health. But famous TikToker, her name is Marilyn Smith. She's a cookbook author. She talks about how throughout her life, throughout her marriage, she's been doing fart walks at the end of every meal, 15, 10-minute fart walk. And apparently some scientists have researched the subject and said it's one of the healthiest things you could do. It starts to stimulate bowel movement, which is really, really great. And on top of that, it starts to break down food. Having said that, last night I had McDonald's and fell asleep 15 minutes later. I feel like garbage right now. I feel swollen because of the salt. I could have went for a fart walk, but apparently it's in the American Journal of Gastroenterology. I hope I said that right.
Nailed it.
Even a mild activity after a meal is enough to significantly reduce bloating. And then it will help your gut. But not only that, it helps through heartburn. It helps through there's so many benefits for going through a fart walk. I recommend doing it at Target. Doing it somewhere safe.
Just
but
crop dust into all retail spaces.
Some people,
can.
Last night I didn't get to do that. I just did the fart nap. I just fell asleep.
And here's the key. Instead. Here's the key. Go down like the Magnolia aisle or like the McGee and Company, somewhere there's a lot of candles and scents out there. You know what I mean? So it's just camouflages.
You want to go through the towel aisle actually and just soak it in.
It smells like farts,
you just blasted McGee in Studios, blasted it.
I'm not gonna even lie. This is something that I've been doing for years. I just didn't know it was a thing. We'd go on eats and then afterwards we'd go walk. But I would always walk because my cousins wanted to do a walk. But the reason why they wanted to do a walk was because they wanted to, I wanted to just, be outside. And now apparently it's something that Gen Z's attaching to. So I say do a fart walk if you ever need to not feel bloated after
the greatest generation. We are on the
greatest generation. Ends at Z.
I just watched those the Masters of the Air show on Apple, and then they had a documentary afterwards about the greatest generation. And these 20-year-olds like sacrificed and struggled, and I mean really like POWs. It was just crazy stories. this generation
Fart walk.
introducing fart walks.
I want to see the Apple TV series of the pioneers of this movement,
But the thing is, the person who introduced this idea, the woman who introduced this idea is in her 70s. So she is a part of that. Her and her husband are part of the so-called best generation. They're giving us their wisdom and now passing it on to us.
All right. What do you have, Derek?
Well, I believe this generation is going to be known as one of the greatest scamming generations of all time. Like just between internet scams, crypto scams, and all these different things. Like I feel like if we haven't nailed anything, we have nailed how to scam you out of your money. So think about this. How many movements have started off like honest, true, grassroots movements that are meant to solve a problem? And then somehow they get co-opted by corporations. I mean, I can think of a few. Black Lives Matter started out as just people saying Black people's lives matter. Hip hop started out as let's talk about our culture. Let's talk about all these things, right? And then now we have the anti-diet movement. Have y'all ever heard of that?
No.
Yeah.
I never heard of the anti-diet movement.
Anti-diet?
Have you heard of it? Yes,
No.
anti-diet movement. So apparently there was a movement that started in the 60s that it was all about body positivity, meaning that you don't have to look like, this ripped person. You don't have to be 60 pounds to be healthy. Like you don't
60
have to be
pounds
skinny
ain't
to be
healthy unless you're 9 years old.
Exactly right. Exactly. So you don't have to be super slim. You don't have to look like a supermodel to be healthy, right? So that's the idea here. Well, there's a trend going with hashtag food freedom and anti-diet that you have a lot of influencers that are now jumping on this movement. So I'm going to read this. They said they analyzed 1,500 of social media posts, and we found that some people are making pretty unscientific claims, like there's no connection between nutrition and chronic diseases. So there's no, doesn't matter what you eat, chronic diseases just happen. It says some influencers are saying that no food should be labeled as junk food or unhealthy because all foods have value. And they do this while snacking on Reese's peanut butter cups. Well, guess what we found out? That a lot of these influencers are being paid by junk food companies to use this language to sell their products. No lie, bro.
Listen.
They're paying influencers. General Mills, one of the biggest food companies in America, has started adopting the anti-diet philosophy as a way to promote their products. So they're doing influencer marketing with this anti-diet concept to sell more junk food.
Yeah,
what
that's
a scam.
insane. That almost reminds me of when I was reading an article about how they lobbied to have more formula instead of breast milk by lobbying work weeks to be women go back to work instantly. Like there are so many things going on behind the scenes.
Don't get Jesse started on big milk, big floss, big butter, big bread.
But here's the thing about the junk food thing. Like, it's guilt free. I got no beef with this. Okay, listen. If I'm eating, if I want a Snickers bar or a sleeve of Oreos, I don't want to feel bad. I know what I'm doing. Okay, these people have no illusions. They just don't want to feel worse about making the junk food decision. Let's all lighten up a little. Like if an influencer tells me, you know what? If you eat all these Hot Pockets or these Little Debbie snacks, it's probably not going to be that bad. You know what? They're right. It's fine.
You know what you need to do? You know what you need to do after you have all those snacks? Go on a fart walk. By the way, listen to this.
Was it the spices we just had to eat? I grabbed my jacket, we hit the lit streets.
I love it.
The night air so sweet. We'll step the strides as we own the beat. Slip, our giggles turn to tears.
This is new Frank Ocean.
You were strutting, I couldn't breathe. It's a song I just made called Fart Walk. So there you go.
I love it. I thought that was Frank Ocean.
You eat that meatball Hot Pocket all you want and walk the linens aisle of Bed Bath & Beyond and just don't even think twice. You know?
We need Emily here. This is
your life.
She can't control us.
All right. Well, that'll do it for Slices. That'll do it for Slices. Stay tuned. Up next, Aaron Cole joins us. You're listening to Between Friends. The song is Drive Over Me.
Season 4 of The Chosen is in theaters now, and the reviews that count are in.
Amazing. Did not disappoint.
Flurry of emotions. It was powerful, heartbreaking, uplifting.
You have got to come and see it. It is a message for everybody. I highly recommend that you come out and see The Chosen Season 4.
Episodes 1 through 3 of The Chosen Season 4 are in theaters till February 14th, so visit thechosenriseup.com and get your tickets now. That's thechosenriseup.com for tickets today.
Hey, if you like this podcast, but you might like it better if there were no ads, you can do that. Head over to relevantmagazine.com and sign up for Relevant Plus. For just a couple bucks a month, you get this podcast ad-free. You get ad-free unlimited reading at relevantmagazine.com, including the full podcast and magazine archives, our beautifully designed digital issue, and a little more. Check out all the info right there on the Relevant Plus tab at relevantmagazine.com. Well, our guest today is Aaron Cole. He's a rapper, singer, who's getting ready to drop a new album called Sorry I've Changed. It comes out next Friday. We talk with him about the new music and how he's learning to embrace new seasons of life. Here's Emily's conversation with Aaron Cole.
You've got a new album dropping this month called Sorry I've Changed, which is a very interesting name for an album. What can you tell me about this project?
Yeah. So I feel like if people have followed my career, like they've seen like I came into the game when I was like 17, 18 when I signed with Toby Mac. And it's been like a great journey. Like, you know what I'm saying? I've done a lot of great things, won Dove Awards and whole 9 Billboard #1s. Like, it's been great. I ended my contract last year and I was just kind of like in a transition period, just figuring out what I wanted to do. I had a lot of labels on the table and just kind of deciphering through all those things. And so I just feel like the change title was just super like fitting with everything that was going on in my life. So just like on the basics level of like, this is my first album I made like while I was married. This is the first album as a homeowner. This is the first album with the new label, RCA, Provident and stuff like that. And so like, that's just the basis of it. And then the next layer, I feel like God was showing me that like real life changes you, and just going through like real life situations each and every day, it's like that changes you in a way that you're kind of like not prepared for in a sense, you know. Just losing, I lost my grandma during making this album, lost a couple loved ones actually, and losing friends, and you know what I'm saying, just dealing with those type of relationships, business partners, and all of those things. But just like the going through the realness of life just sometimes like changes how you think about faith, changes how you think about, you know what I'm saying, your life, the whole nine. So that was the next layer. And then the last layer I always say is simple. It's like, it's the gospel too. It's like once you become to know God and once you like walk in the faith, like it's a lot of things that you have to let go. Like you have to let go of things of yourself that you probably love. You know what I'm saying? You have to let go of other people that are probably doing the same things that they were, you know what I'm saying, that we were doing in high school and stuff like that. I still have friends doing the same things we were doing in high school. And it's like, man, I can't do that anymore. It's like, sorry, I changed. And so it's some remorse that comes with that sometimes, because as you're elevating, like it's the saying that everybody can't go with you. And so, yeah, that's kind of the title in the grand scheme of things. It's just like, man, like, I'm sorry, I changed.
That is a lot of change in a really short amount of time. Do you feel like you're good with change?
I feel like everybody is a balance, like just like everybody. Like it's like when things start changing in your life, you're like, bruh, like what's going on? But then when you come to the other side of things, you're just like, okay, like I needed to go through that change just to be who I am today. Like if I was the same person that I was when I came into the industry, like I would be You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be good. Like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like I've elevated and just grown into the man and person that I am today. That makes everything better. It's like, I feel like we as people are always changing because we're not perfect. It's like, we're not perfect people, but God is perfect and he's someone that never changes. So if you feel like you're God, then that's when you should say that you never change. But for me, it's like, I know I'm not perfect. I know I need God's love. So it's just like, man, I have to embrace change because change is good.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're talking about a lot of those changes on this project. Would you say this is maybe your most vulnerable album yet?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely the most vulnerable. My song, What It's Like, it's probably the most vulnerable I've ever been. Like I was kind of talking about earlier, I was just talking about my parents' situation and, you know what I'm saying, my feelings as a big brother. If anyone knows and follows my music, my dad, my mom, like kind of like my whole immediate family has been a part of my career in a big way. Like I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them, especially my dad. Like he was on the road with me, like growing up a lot and stuff like that. Like I'm not here without them. And so they were big people like in my life. And so they first got a divorce, they got back together, broke up again. And while making this album, my dad kind of hit like a low place, to where he had suicidal thoughts, and you know what I'm saying, he was just really low because he, like I said, I lost my grandma, that was his mom, and he did that, and then he was just kind of looking back in his life of like reflecting and, you know what I'm saying, wanting his family and stuff like that, and hit rock bottom. And so I kind of stopped everything I was doing. I went back to Bristol. I had a friend with me at the time. Like it was literally like in the midst of the moment when I heard about these things. And so like when I talk about what it's like those are things, like I said, was happening right then and there. So it's like me even talking about those things in songs is definitely the most vulnerable. And like I said, talking about the hope side of it, I tell this story all the time about my song Proof on the album. This is why they're kind of right beside each other, What It's Like and Proof, because all that stuff happened, and you know what I'm saying, we had the family meeting, we had the whole nine, and then I got back in the car to come back to Nashville. And I was with my friend. He was like, man, it's been a good day. And I was like, man, how? Like, this is it's been the craziest time of my life kind of vibe. He was like, man, nah, you got to look at it a different way. Like, you know what I'm saying? Your dad didn't do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we got here safely. Like, it's been a good day. And so it just kind of made me ask the question to myself of like, why do us as Christians like worry all the time when God has proven himself like over and over and over again that it's going to work out for our good? Like all things are working together for our good. And it made me just ask that question to myself, because it's hard. Like it's definitely hard in the moment because you're thinking about what's going on in the moment. But if we kind of reflect and think about all the things that he's brought us through, it's just like, no, like we should have a sense of peace, a sense of joy, because we know that God has proven that he has it all under control. And so that's where proof comes from. It's like, I don't need to see any more proof to know what God can do, because I've seen it over and over again. And so, like I said, I'm giving reality, I'm giving hope, I'm giving the whole nine. And so that's why I feel like it's the most vulnerable, because I'm just, every single song, I can just tell you probably a story of what was going on in that time. So.
Yeah, and I think people do learn a lot from vulnerability too. Of all of the messages that you're putting on this album, what's a message you think our generation really needs to hear right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, something that's been consistent with this whole album rollout is to keep going. I've talked about it a lot, like in my career, but me being like from a small town in Bristol, Virginia, me being at the place that I'm at today, like I don't take lightly, because it's like, I feel like if God can do it for me, like he can do it for anyone else. And there's a lot of people that feel like, oh, like it should happen quick. Like if it's not happening right now, if your song's not going viral right now, if your business is not going viral right now, then that means that you should quit and figure out something else. And it's just like, no, like I'm the testament that building brick by brick works, you know what I'm saying? And trusting God to continue to build and mold you and change you and, you know what I'm saying, make you more like him every day. Like I'm a testament of that, because it's like brick by brick I had right on time, but then like I had the double board, and then it's like I'm chilling, and then it's like, you know what I'm saying, the pandemic happens, you know what I mean? Like I win the double board and pandemic happens. It's like, it's nuts. And so it's just like brick by brick, ups and downs. It's just like I could have won the double board, like, and when the pandemic happened, just lost my mind and quit, you know what I'm saying? Because everyone was in the house. Like I was like, man, what am I gonna do? Like, you know what I'm saying? We can't do shows. Like, what's gonna happen? And it's just like, no, I kept going to where the fact, like, I just signed a major record deal and the whole nine. So I feel like that's a very important like topic that I always like want to show to people when I'm talking to, you know what I'm saying, people that come up in small towns or big towns, whatever it may be. Like you may come from nothing, like you may come from privilege, but whatever it may be, I want you to know that you can't quit and you can't stop. And if you feel like God's called you to do something, you should just keep going, man, because it's going to work out. And that's why it says in the Bible, like, in due time, ye shall reap. So that means it might not happen on the first post. It might not happen on the second post. It might not happen on the third post. It might not happen on the 100th post, you know what I'm saying, the 100th posts, but you got to keep going. And so, yeah, that's my whole message. That's my whole vibe. So, yeah.
Yeah. So sorry I changed. That's just the price of the fame. Yeah. That's just the price of the fame. Yeah. That's just the price of the call in my life. This ain't a regular thing. Yeah. Be something shake when I'm rolling the dice. My phone, I just look at it ring. Know what I mean? I had to, yeah.
That was Aaron Cole. Make sure to check out his new project, Sorry I've Changed. It releases next Friday. You can go pre-save it now, wherever you get your music. All right, stay tuned. Up next, it's 5 Second Rule. You're listening to The Greeting Committee. The song is How It Goes. Well, Relevant has a lot happening this year, and we don't want you to miss a thing. Make sure to sign up for our newsletter right there on the front page at relevantmagazine.com, and we'll send you our top 5 trending stories sent to your inbox every weekday. We'll also send you a weekly podcast newsletter with the latest episodes, some fan extras, and first peeks at the new shows that we're going to be rolling out throughout this year. Make sure to sign up. It's the best way to keep in touch with everything we got going on. All right. I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we are going to do a round of 5 Second Rule. We have a little jingle for it. Here it is.
It's 5 Second Rule.
Look at us. Elevating things here. I figured out AI music, guys. AI music. It's dangerous.
It's amazing.
It's dangerous. All right. 5 Second Rule. You know how we play this. We're going to go around. You guys got 5 seconds to tell me 3 things. I'm going to give you, I have cards here, just random topics. You got to list 3 things within 5 seconds. Here we go. Jesse, you're up first. Tell me 3 body parts you can live without. Go.
Toes, earlobes, and eyebrows.
Eyebrows? That keeps water out of your eyes.
I could come
toes?
up with it.
You gonna live without your toes?
I had 5 seconds, and I think I'd be okay. I think I'd have some prosthetic, and I think for the eyebrows, I'd have a headband solution.
Nice.
Like a really like you know what kind of headband it would be like
Alex
when LeBron
Caruso.
What kind of
No, it would be
weird,
like
sick,
when
twisted
LeBron-
game are you playing?
when LeBron his hairline first started going, he's wearing those double wide headbands.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got a
cover
guy
up
in the
the
Magic doing
hairline.
that right now. Jalen Suggs. It's like,
Yeah,
buddy.
I'd wear one of those.
Jalen, no,
Just let it go.
Let it go.
Alex
Dust it
Caruso was rocking it for a while, and then he shaved it. Like he just
LeBron's was basically a beanie with the top cut off. Like that's how thick he got for a
It
while.
was. You're right, actually.
All right, Derek, here we go. 5 seconds. Name 3 itchy things.
Butt, feet, and back.
That
You
thing's
went
on
body
you that
parts.
itch. Things that itch you like
I'm glad
feathers.
You went body parts again.
He's like, butt.
It's like butt.
People have itchy butt. People have itchy feet. People have itchy backs.
When they go on that
I
far.
just-
All right.
That's what it is.
All right, Marty. 5 seconds. Name 3 classic arcade video games.
All right, Tetris, Super Mario Brothers, the Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Is Tetris an arcade game?
Yeah,
Yes,
Tetris,
OG.
the classic
Yes,
Tetris, the one that it's the words, not even color.
All right.
We have an old arcade over here. I love it.
Jesse, here we go. 5 seconds. Name 3 books that have been made into movies.
Narnia, Lord of the Rings, and
Time.
There's got to be another.
There
Road
is.
to Perdition. You should have said one of those boring movies like.
I said Lord of the Rings and Narnia.
You should have had Harry Potter. That'd have been a trifecta.
Yeah, there you
There you
Potter
go.
would have did it.
All right, Derek, here you go. In 5 seconds, name 3 yoga poses.
Downward dog. Downward dog. I
Time.
don't know 3. I just know downward dog.
That's all I know, too. You could have said whatever. I would have known. I don't have the answers in front of me. All right, Marty, here you go. Name 3 aquatic animals. Aquatic mammals. Aquatic mammals. Sorry, go.
Okay, a seal, a whale, and then a shark. Dolphin.
Dolphin. That's
Doesn't
right.
count.
I don't
Sorry.
think shark is.
They don't come up for air. Sharks don't come up for air.
I think
Yeah.
whales
They
do
just
because
do
of
sweet
Seinfeld,
jumps. Yeah.
right?
The
The mammal.
Yeah. All right, Jesse, here you go. Okay, in 5 seconds, name 3 pets other than cats and dogs.
Hamsters, parakeets, and gerbils.
There you go. All right.
Turtles. Some people have turtles.
My next door neighbor, turtles.
That is
Really?
one.
You got a
Okay.
turtle
He walks
neighbor.
them through the street, literally like a 78-year-old Asian
Like a
man. He has a
box
stick,
turtle?
and they're 2 turtles, and they walk slowly on the sidewalk every morning. It's the most amazing.
So when you say
crazy.
stick, this isn't a leash situation. This is like
That's
a,
crazy.
you know,
This is free. This is free.
like a
free-
shepherd,
yeah.
like a
herds them
shepherd
with a
staff.
stick?
with a little
Okay.
stick, straight up stick, and he's videoing it the whole time. Like I'm trying to find his channel for years.
I have a neighbor that walks her cat on a leash. It's like,
That's
By the way, that's the socially responsible thing to do. Real quick, real talk. I don't want to. I could go on about this. I know we're coming up on time here, but did you know that there is a major ecological, and I'm going to anger a lot of people about this. There's a major ecological situation happening, not just in this country, in countries across the world, that cats in America alone kill, like house cats that are just allowed outside during the day.
Mm-hmm.
They kill billions with a B of birds a year. Like people think,
wow.
oh, I just let my cat roam free, roam the neighborhood. It is an ecological disaster because they're an invasive. Cats are not native to here. Like we domesticated them, and they're not supposed to just be let out in the wild. Cats are natural born killers. They are slaughtering birds right now. I'm telling you, it's a real problem. There's big dust up in my neighborhood about this. Okay, you can listen.
They've moved on from sourdough.
Listen, you can listen to there's a podcast called Search Engine hosted by PJ Vogt, formerly of Reply All. They did a fantastic episode on this cat problem. It is a major issue. Keep your cats on leashes.
Thank you for watching The Price is Right. Make sure to spay and neuter your dog.
yeah, there you go.
Keep them on leashes. Leash them up. Leash them up.
All right, Derek, here we go. Name 3 rock bands that are more than 20 years old.
Eagles, Aerosmith, The Killers.
There you go.
Wow, the Killers are.
I mean, think about it. It's something that was big in 2000. It's 24 years ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Wow. Marty, name 3 reasons people get fired.
Yeah, that's easy. Yelling at their boss, being late all the time, and stealing.
There you go.
I've done all 3.
I was going to say. He's like, I know why you get fired.
Oh, trust me.
That's why I work for myself.
Also in the job realm, Jesse, name 3 jobs that require hats or helmets.
Ooh.
Construction worker, professional baseball player, astronaut.
Wow. There you go. Derek, name 3 games that can be played with a deck of cards.
Spades, poker, and solitaire.
There you go.
Good.
Real quick on the hat thing, the helmet thing. Pharrell is building like a big surf park. You know those like he's
fake
building
waves.
one
Yeah.
right down the street with his fake waves. His
Virginia.
face is all over it, right? And a buddy of mine is like the electrician lining it up, and he's like, "Hey man, you want to come take a tour? You can see what it's gonna be like." I'm like, heck yeah! I went on the job site, but I had to suit up with like the helmet. I had to wear like a coat and a badge. Can I just say this? I've never felt like more of a man. just wearing a hard hat for like a brief tour. If you wear a construction hard hat and a coat on a job site, you're like, I'm an actual human.
You bought a tool set after
Even
this.
though I had nothing to do with the actual
tool set.
I wasn't actually doing anything constructive. I was just walking around. I can tell you this, I've never felt more official at anything than when I had that hard hat on walking a job site. It's a really great experience.
All right, Marty, name 3 Disneyland rides.
Yeah, we have Space Mountain, we have Splash Mountain, and then we have the Teacups.
You don't have a Splash Mountain anymore. They shut it down.
They don't have Splash Mountain anymore because it was racist? Is that
right,
the reason
it was completely
why?
racist. It's reopening as Taya's Bayou Adventure from the Frog and the Prince.
Why was it racist? What? I never seen Splash Mountain. What made it racist?
It was Zippity Doodah era where they had like the slaves and the Southern folklore songs.
Yeah,
no,
you know it's bad. Well, you know it's bad if you go on Disney right now and you try to watch like an older movie. They'll give you like a message like, "Hey, this movie was made before, anyone got offended." So just know that we've changed from this. Yeah.
Disney had black people down bad.
Last one. Here we go. Last round. Here, Jesse, name 3 things in a backyard.
Wind chimes, grass, and a tool shed.
There you go. All right, Derek, name 3 things that are white.
People, sneakers, and keys on the piano.
I thought you were going to name. I thought 2 of them were
people.
right here. You were going to name us.
I thought you were going to say Jesse, Cam, Emily.
All right, Marty, name 3 rappers.
Yeah, Ice-T, Drake, and Kendrick.
Ice-T, why did he
I don't know why I thought of Ice-T. I don't know. It's first that hit my mind.
All right, that'll do it for. I'll play the jingle again. Well, before we wrap things up, I want to thank Aaron Cole for joining us today. Make sure next Friday to check out his new album, Sorry I've Changed. You can pre-save it now. Also, make sure to check out Relevant Magazine. Over at the website, we have our digital issue 114 featuring conversations with Need to Breathe, Rainn Wilson, Brooke Lidgerwood, Mike Todd, so much else. You can read it for free thanks to our sponsor, The Covenant, which is streaming now on Apple TV. Okay, on that note, we'll wrap it up. I'm Cameron Strang.
I'm Jesse Carey.
I'm Derek Miner.
I'm Marty.
We will see you on Friday. Have a great week, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Relevant Podcast. Check out our features, interviews, and news updates every day at relevantmagazine.com. And make sure to follow Relevant on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest. For more great podcasts, browse the shows on the Relevant Podcast Network, which you can find at our site. And while you're there, don't miss the all-new era of Relevant Magazine. A new issue releases every other month at relevantmagazine.com.
I'm assuming we're never going to hear from Emily again. Are we all on the same page about that?
Relevant Podcast Network.